Hello, everybody. How you guys doing today? On this, what is it? The 17th of August, a Tuesday. We just had a big Fortnite update with some cool stuff that I'm going to get into, as well as some other things that I feel like ranting about. But let's jump right into things. Welcome to Brad's Bad Show About Games. My name is Brad, and I am not a dateable weapon. And we will talk about that towards the end. But we got a lot of Fortnite stuff to talk about because I haven't done a show since before the Fortnite Rift Tour, and I haven't got to give my thoughts on this except for on Twitter. So, let's talk about Ariana Grande's show. I liked it. It was pretty fun. I think if I had to rank whether I thought hers was better than Travis Scott's or not, I think I prefer the Travis Scott event mainly because I think that was the first one, and I didn't really know what to expect from the events when it happened. I hadn't really seen any of the previous events before that, and it really did blow me away. Like the sheer size of the event and having this humongous Travis Scott stomping around Battle Royale Island, and then the going into the water world and into this void of space and everything like that. That was really cool, and you know it's really hard to, you know, it's not fair to this show, to the Rift Tour, to keep comparing it back to Travis Scott, because that's going to always, the newness of Fortnite events for me when I saw that event, you know, is going to, play into my thoughts. And I guess it doesn't help that it seems like the Travis Scott event was so much more, or so popular to begin with. It seems to be everybody's favorite event that that has seen a good share of the events at this point. And it was certainly something special because that was my very first Fortnite event. So yeah. Otherwise, though, I don't want to try to compare them because it's not fair, because these are two totally different events, two totally different artists with their own vision of what they wanted to do for their show, and I still think it was a good show. I liked the way that they added, the interactive features where the before the show started, you had to be in an hour early, so that was a lot of time to play around in the pre-show. But they had projector things set up where if whatever skin you were wearing would be projected into the sky above the UFO where the event was supposed to start. So you could see a gigantic version of yourself doing whatever emote you wanted to do. And it was cool that they actually limited it to the amount of time that you could spend standing on the projector to like 5, 6, 7 seconds before you would get, forcibly booted off, so everybody could have a turn. So it's cool that they thought ahead and knew that somebody was just going to sit on it, and if you didn't force people off of it, then there would be people who would just sit on it the whole time, and nobody would get to play with that thing. So it was good on them to have the foresight to, be prepared for that. There were some other things around there too, but mostly it was just me goofing around. But the event itself was cool. The first part where you slide through the colorful. No, the first part was actually the tour back into the history of Fortnite, where you're going down this void, this long, colorful tunnel. Looks like a giant rift tunnel, and you're seeing various moments from Fortnite's history, like having the cube and the volcano erupting, which I wasn't around for those things. But at the very end, you're greeted by a giant version of whatever skin you're wearing. So I was wearing Deadpool, and I was greeted with a giant Deadpool. So that was pretty fun. Then you're in this colorful surfing thing, where if you get a golden wrap item that's on the course as you're surfing, it will change to whatever weapons wrap you have equipped. So since I had the Deadpool wrap equipped, the surfing liquid that we were on, whatever you want to call it, changed to red and black, and that was cool. I didn't know that was what it was doing. I never picked up on that. Some of the people I saw talking online brought that up, so it was a nice little thing I didn't know was going on. Then when you get transported to a Cuddle Team Leader realm, where basically everything is based on Cuddle Team Leader, and you get stared at by a giant Cuddle Team Leader head. That was fun. Then you're transported onto a plane where you shoot down or shoot at the Storm King, while the zombie demons or whatever that come out during that battle are just dancing to the music that plays. I'm not sure who all these artists are that they played before the main show. But then after the Storm King segment, you're helped up and you have the option to help somebody else up. I think if you don't do it, it just does it on its own anyway. But you can press a button to interact and force your character, I guess just earlier, to help somebody up to their feet. And then Ariana comes in and she sings, I can't tell you I can't tell you the song names. Like that one, what is it, like 7 Rings or something like that? These are a few of my favorite things, or something like that. I see it, I want it, I like it, I got it, or something like that. Like I couldn't tell. I don't know the names of the songs. I don't really keep up with Ariana Grande's music very much. I know she sings very well. Although one of the things I've criticized her about with singing is it sounds sometimes like she sings in a way that sounds like she's I'm trying to think of the best way to put this because it's gonna sound weird. I think either way, it's like she's holding back. It's what it sounds like to me. I know that sounds weird, but to me, it sounds like when she sings sometimes, it sounds like she's holding back. I've heard her sing and just go all out, and she definitely can, but sometimes it just seems like she's trying to conserve energy, and maybe she is, and she only wants to hit the big points when she needs to. But I guess I'd have to listen to more of her songs to get the full scope. But I mean, she's got a nice singing voice. I mean, I don't think anybody really can dispute that. It just depends on what kind of music you're into. I mean, I'm more into the music that you headbang to. So, but I do think it was amusing though that one of the very last song she sings, this is about switching up positions for you, and I don't even have to have heard this song before to know that that's probably not a song that should be in a game that acknowledges that its primary audience is kids. But you're already putting characters from rated R movies in the game. It's too late for that. Too late for that. But anyway, don't want to spend too much time on this. The post Rift Tour events have been activated now. You can get some free stuff. But you gotta play with a buddy to get it all. So if you've got friends, jump into Fortnite, get these free rewards. I mean, free's always good, right? So gotta make sure I try to get those done. Definitely love the emote though. One of the interactive parts, I forgot to bring this one up, is there's a part where she's on a cloud swinging. There were a few other parts. I'm not going to go with the whole thing. But anyway, one of her emotes that I did buy, I didn't buy her skin. I'm not going to buy a celebrity skin. I made an exception for LeBron. But I didn't buy hers. But I did buy the emote that was with her set where you ride this glittery unicorn llama. And it's a great emote. I could not buy that. So you actually end up riding those things at 2 separate points during that event, where you're chasing her or after her while she's on a big swing made of clouds. And then after the event, you can it puts you back on the Battle Royale island while fireworks are going off, and you can fly through rainbow rings in the sky, and it gives you like 200 experience for each one you do. And I guess you can just do it as long as you were logged into the game. But I did it a few times to get some free experience, and then I got out of there. But anyway, it was a fun event. Hopefully they'll do more. I have an idea for what I would like for them to do, and I'll discuss that another time, because I want them to branch out. If they're going to do these events, I want them to branch out and do other genres of music. Not just whatever is like technically classified as popular at the moment, I guess. I'd like to see them, like, I guess I'll mention it now. I'd like to see them do one with Disturbed, a collab, or just any rock band or alternative metal band or whatever, as you can. I said Disturbed specifically, though, because they could make Disturbed's mascot, who is called the Guy, into a skin. And they could theme the event around the Guy. The Guy appears in multiple Disturbed videos, as like this vengeful spirit, and he would fit right in with Fortnite. I mean, for their song, like for their cover of The Land of Confusion, it's a 2D animated one, and then there's a live action, but it's like got all kinds of like special effects and animation in it as well, for the vengeful one. So I would love to see a Fortnite skin of that character in either of those iterations of the character, either from the Land of Confusion or from the vengeful one, or even from just some of the cover art of their albums. His design doesn't change a lot. It's mostly just a hooded figure. It's mostly just a hooded man where his face is shrouded in shadow, but you can see his piercing red eyes and his fangs, this jagged fang teeth of just the spirit of vengeance who has come to right the wrongs of the world, But I'd like to see them do that. But anyway, getting off of the show, we're getting into collabs now with not musicians. Gamora's been added to the game from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they brought back the Star-Lord outfit to go along with her, and I'm hoping I can pick these up before they leave the shop. Hopefully they'll stick around a little while longer. This is cool. I expected them to do more Guardians because they added Groot and Rocket Raccoon as his back bling. I thought they would do like they did Black Widow, because Black Widow and Star-Lord were two outfit skins that they had released like a long time ago. And when the Black Widow movie came out, they did a brand new Black Widow skin, but they did not bring back the Black Widow outfit skin. So I just assumed they had replaced that one. Like, you'll probably never see it again, the old one, because this one is supposed to be the real deal. Well, now that they've brought the Star-Lord outfit skin back, I'm kind of thinking that they're not going to do another Star-Lord skin, at least not in the foreseeable future, because if they were, then now would have been a good time to bring that back, because they didn't bring back the old Black Widow skin when they showed off the new one. So I think if the old Star-Lord skin is here, then they're not really, at least at the moment, planning on another one. So I want to go ahead and get that one too and let him just be Star-Lord. He wears a mask anyway, so who cares what his hair looks like if it's technically drift under there? I mean, it doesn't matter. He's wearing a mask. So that's a cool thing. All that's left now is Drax, and at this point I say that with Gamora, Star-Lord, Groot, and Rocket in the game, you gotta put Drax in there now. At some point, Drax will be in the game. So when that will be, who knows? I'd probably throw out there maybe next season. I don't know. There's no reason to rush for it. I mean, Star-Lord was from the first chapter. Groot was added in season 2. This is season 7. Season 4 was Groot. This is season 7, so there's a decent amount of time between these characters, so it's all right. Another interesting crossover was the Free Guy crossover, which came with in-game challenges where Ryan Reynolds himself would show up in a projector hologram screen and tell you what to do in order to progress through the challenges and unlock the Free Guy emote, where you hear where your character spins around, does like the finger guns at somebody, and then gives them the thumbs up while saying, "Don't have a good day, have a great day," which is really funny. I'm so glad that has his voice, because I equipped it to Deadpool, and that's gonna have to be one of the emotes that I keep equipped to Deadpool, because it's just funny, because Ryan Reynolds, of course, is also Deadpool. I did not buy this skin. I'm not interested in the skin. He looks like a weird preppy version of John Cena, and I I like the challenges, and I get like it's a video game character. Hey kitty, got a little kitty in here with me, and then he's trying to talk to me. You gonna be on the show? You gonna be on the show? Anyway, but we got there you go. We got preppy John Cena here. Didn't buy him, but I did have fun with the challenges. I recorded a whole video. I was going to do a Deadpool video for this season, and I decided that since this was Ryan Reynolds, and I thought it would be funny to have Deadpool be the one to do these skins and stuff, I made a video or two specifically around the Free Guy Fortnite crossover. So that will serve as my Deadpool video for the season. I'm running out of time to do these videos, too. I got a lot of collabs to get to. Anyway, I don't know. I guess you can still do these Free Guy challenges. The ATMs were still in the game last I checked. I have not played the game since the new update, but I guess we can find out about that. This next one has been pretty much it was a given, and given that they had teased this during the Batman comics. Kitty. I think he's upset because I'm ignoring him. Poor little guy. No, he's not hungry. He just ate. But, yeah, I can't tell if you can hear him. But, he's silly. Anyway, next collab we've known this one was coming. It's just a matter of when. Wonder Woman finally showing up in the game. She'll have two variants. One that looks like this one looks more like closer to the traditional Wonder Woman, and then one that looks more like her more modern attire. She's got like the long pants instead of like I don't know what you would call the other, but so it's more like a modern Wonder Woman. This is one of the better looking DC skins in my opinion. Like I like Superman, but I think she actually looks really good. And with her being in the game now, almost all of, she will, she's not quite yet. This will make almost all of the core members of the Justice League as part of the game now. So we got Batman, Superman, Aquaman from Season 3, Wonder Woman now, The Flash, I haven't bought The Flash yet. Cyborg supposedly has been in the works. And all that really leaves is Green Lantern. There's two Green Lanterns, so I wonder how they would handle that. There's actually more than two Green Lanterns, but Earth has two Green Lanterns specifically. Three, if I count the girl from Superhero Girls. I can't remember what her name is. But now if you were talking about if you were talking about the Justice League cartoon, you'd need Hawk Girl too, in addition to Green Lantern. Because Cyborg's not part of that Justice League. But once Cyborg, I think I don't know if Cyborg was a part of the original Justice League, or was he like added later? I'm not sure about that. Because the original Justice League that I had imagined, or that I was most familiar with, was from like the Justice League cartoon from like 15 years ago or so that aired on Cartoon Network. That was like a continuation of like the Batman animated series and Superman animated series. And their core members were, Batman, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern. So that's the one I'm more familiar with. But I do know that Cyborg has been in the Justice League a few times. There's one DC film, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the one where the animation, the character designs are borrowed directly from Young Justice. I can't remember which one that is. Oh, which one is that? I can't remember, but Cyborg joins the Justice League in that one. And I think he's even voiced by the actor who plays him in Teen Titans, Carrie Payton, I think is how you say his name. Is it Carrie or Kari? Oh God, I second guess people's names so much. Anyway, the voice actor who plays Cyborg for Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go plays Cyborg in that Justice League movie where he joins the League. So, but yeah, it'll be fun to have all the Justice League members in the game, and then I'll surely do a Justice League video. I want to do an Avengers video too, because we already got like Captain America and Iron Man and Thor, She-Hulk and Black Widow. I need to figure out exactly like who all are the absolute core members, because like Hawkeye I think is missing. I think he's always been a core member of the Avengers. So I'll have to look into that. But like I don't know if Captain Marvel has ever been in the Avengers. Black Panther I think is aligned with the Avengers, but I'm not sure if he technically counts as an Avenger. I don't know. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy on all the comic book continuities. But anyway, Wonder Woman's coming. That'll be fun. Now, as this is Tuesday, the day of a big Fortnite update, there were some skins leaked. And that's always fun to see what's new coming. Of course, we got the whole big demonstration for Wonder Woman and her stuff. But there was one skin that caught my eye, and I've fallen in love with it. And I'm probably going to make this my unofficial skin to use in the game. And it's this guy. I don't even know if he has a name, but look at this design. I think this is a fan design, by the way. I couldn't tell you what the original concept was. I saw somebody on Twitter say that it was a fan design. He's wearing a power glove, like the old, the old Nintendo power glove thing. Like, it's not what it is, but it's obviously inspired by that. You can even see like the old NES controller design mounted into it like that. But that's obviously what that is on his arm. His back bling is a gaming PC with some sort of decal or sticker of a Pac-Man ripoff character, and he's wearing that same character on his shirt. And I guess what is that supposed to be? Like, he's listening to some kind of music. What is that supposed to be, like an old Walkman or something like that? That's what it looks like a portable tape player. Like, this is a cool skin. I'm sorry, it just really, really is. I love this skin. And his pickaxe is a gaming keyboard. I'm not feeling the you can't see it here. I'm not feeling the pickaxe, but it shouldn't be too hard to find something that, you know, is either funnier or would work just as well with this guy. But the skin itself, he's cool. He has like 3 different styles of hat. I think you can give him a bucket hat. I can't remember what the other one was. Maybe a hood, maybe like a beanie. It's like a bucket cap and then a beanie. And then I guess this is a visor. But I love this skin right here. I love that they made a parody Pac-Man and stuck him on there. There's already another back bling I could add. I could put Beast Boy's pizza controller back bling on this guy, and it would work just as well. I think I would prefer to do that, actually. So I might play around with things and make this my official skin because, like I said, you know, I fell in love with gaming from the NES era. And this gauntlet here that this guy's wearing is a direct reference to the era of gaming I was born in. I was born in the same year that Super Mario Bros. 3 came out in Japan. So I gotta get this skin whenever it comes out. So I had to shout out this. One more thing before we get off of Fortnite stuff, though. One of the modes that's been released for this game is the imposter mode, and it's basically just Among Us. I know they did something like this similar, but it looks like this version is going to play differently. There's going to be some different stuff, and it's lore oriented. There's a lot of lore stuff tied to the Order and Jones, and there's some like little hidden nuggets of stuff in the backgrounds and in the stages. So that'll be interesting to see what all we learn from that stuff. But I'm definitely going to go check out that mode too. So now something that was kind of going around in the discussion of the free MVC2 movement is the concept of how this should be handled. And what I mean by that is, should they just re-release the game as it is and just give it like online play? Or should they like upscale it in HD? Maybe put it in widescreen format? Or should they maybe take a different approach and remake the game in its entirety? Maybe do a blend of 2D and 3D animation, sort of like the Arc System Works does for like their games, where the characters look two-dimensional in the way that they're designed and animated, but they're 3D figures. They're 3D models, not 2D models. They just have the aesthetic of 2D models. Like, I'd actually be interested in seeing something like that. Now, obviously, if you do that, unless you keep the game as close to as the original play style as you possibly can, then you might upset people who prefer the old 2D sprites. And I think that's a valid thing, too. But I wonder if you maybe could marry the two and have a game where you release it where you select the visuals you want to play under. Do you want to play under... Or maybe you could just release it as a two-game package where it's like, oh, here's the original Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and now here's Marvel vs. Capcom 2, hyper mode. I don't know what you call it. I don't know. Call it hyper fighting after Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Or Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Turbo. There you go. But, or Super Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 2, if you want to take the naming convention away from MVC3. Those are just some ideas, but I think I would be interested in seeing like what this game would look like if you did do the pseudo the 2.5D animation, I think is some people call it. But that would be interesting. Something that I did not know exists, though, is SEGA Forever, for free SEGA games you could play on your mobile devices. I didn't know this was a thing. I downloaded BlueStacks on my computer to emulate mobile games to play, because I thought that would be fun for you guys to bring some variety there. There's some games, and a lot of the mobile games are free. There's some good looking games that you could play for free on mobile. And so I thought, well, BlueStacks, I think from what I saw, BlueStacks got a recommendation from like Samsung. So I'm like, hey, okay, I think I'll that sounds like a pretty good enough, stamp of approval. If a cell phone service provider will put their stamp of approval on an emulator, then I'm like, okay, seems fine to me. I mean, ultimately, it's a free game. I guess ultimately, free games doesn't matter what device you play it on, because you're gonna have to, if you want the true full experience, you're still gonna have to pay, even if you're emulating it. But but yeah, like you in the I was looking through the Google Play Store just trying to see what all was there, and I came across free Sonic the Hedgehog, free Sonic the Hedgehog 2, free Sonic CD. Like, that's kind of crazy. And you could play these in widescreen so that the games will look better for, like, say, YouTube. So that'll be interesting to play these games in that format and bring them to you guys that way. Like, it's really cool. I don't know. I just wanted to plug this. So if you're looking for free games to play, if you're bored, you got some space on your phone, to spare, you like Sonic the Hedgehog, they got a handful of Sonic the Hedgehog games for free on mobile. This is something that like Nintendo should be doing. And I'm going to get to Nintendo shortly on another matter. But like, all the game companies should be doing stuff like this. Your old games, like that pretty much everybody and their grandmother has already paid or bought and paid for at one point in their life, just make them free to play and give them to people. There's no reason to be charging money anymore for Super Mario Brothers. Like, almost anyone alive today has paid to play that game in some format. Think about like how many people have played Mario Maker. I mean, I just don't see the point anymore in doing that. Like, some of these old NES games, throw them up on mobile and let people play them. I mean, it's just people would like Nintendo way more if they were more friendly to gamers and did stuff like that. I mean, the NES catalog on the Switch is fine and dandy, but I don't know, man. It's just like you could do this for people. Obviously, Sega feels like, that they're not too bothered by offering the original Sonic the Hedgehog game for free for people to play after all these years. What, that game's like 30 years old now? Like, I'm sure they figured at this point they've gotten as much money as possible out of that. But also, it being free doesn't necessarily mean that people still wouldn't be willing to pay for it in some sort of game bundle later on a different platform. So, I don't know. I think Nintendo should take after Sega here. Throw some of those old classic games up on mobile for free for people to play. And, you don't have to throw your whole catalog out there. I mean, they don't. For some reason, Sega, on the Sega Forever thing, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 is free, but not the first one. You gotta pay for the first part of Sonic 4, but not Sonic, the second part. I guess it's so you gotta pay to get the initial story. But anyway, go check out some of those others. There's more than just Sonic games too, so go check those out if you want something to play that's for free. This got announced a few days ago, and it's actually going to happen tomorrow now. But there's going to be a Pokemon Presents tomorrow about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and as well as the Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I'm very excited about the Arceus game because this is going to be a very fresh game for Pokemon. They've been doing a lot of cool things lately in the Pokemon world. I know people aren't excited. I know people are still criticizing Diamond and Pearl for how they look, and it's not this in-depth look similar to either Sword and Shield or freaking Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I like the idea that they're trying to harken back to the handheld version of the game by doing a chibi mirror version of the 2D pixel characters. I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to change the game. It's literally just a visual aesthetic. The game's going to be exactly the same. But, like I said, Pokemon's had a lot of new stuff. You had, it's not a big game, but Pokemon Cafe Mix is something that was new. It's a very casual, sort of chill game. But then we finally got new Pokemon Snap. And I've been dying to get back into that. I've also been dying to want to spend more time in Pokemon Unite. These are fun games to play. And now, at some point next year, we're going to get Legends Arceus. This Arceus game could be very fun. It's going to be very unique. And maybe it could even spin taking the Pokemon franchise as a whole in a different direction. If people flock to Legends as more of this style of what people expect of an open world Pokemon game, as opposed to the same old formula that they've had from the very beginning, then the mainline Pokemon games could evolve. Pun intended. But, so it'll be very curious to see how the battle system in that game works, because it looks very similar to the one from the main games. But again, with the overworld and how you capture Pokemon, looks like it works very differently. Guess we'll just have to find out. But that'll be next year. This came as sort of a surprise. Game Mill has announced that they made a casual tweet last night saying if you thought we were being quiet about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and they have been, because it's been a month since they announced this game and there's been nothing added to it whatsoever, aside of the talks that they were blown away by the reception of the game, they said, but the tweet from last night said, sorry if it seems like we're being quiet about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Let me get the exact quote here. The exact quote was, where is it? Come on, man. Where did it go? Give me a minute, I'll find it. Anyway, the tweet had, oh, here it is. I scrolled right by it. It says, if we seem quiet about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, it's because we're making plans. And they did the winking face emoji. I really like that. I really like that they acknowledge that they're working on things and that they're planning it, because it seems like the general takeaway was that originally this game was going to be just dumped, like the Nickelodeon kart racers games were, where you get the game and that's what you get. There were no further plans to update these games, to add anything to them. They were your bare bones game. Expect, like, you get what you pay for, or what you see is what you get. That's what I'm getting at. And that was all you were going to get. But the reaction to this and the attention it's gotten has exceeded, I guess it just greatly exceeded anything they thought people would be excited about. And I don't know why. Smash Brothers is a very, very popular franchise, and people like that style of game, and people have a fondness for these Nickelodeon characters. Whether it's you grew up in the earliest era of SpongeBob like I did, or whether you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, like that has a crossover appeal for like comic book geeks and superhero people. And then you have like the old Ren and Stimpy fans, but then you have kids who, or maybe you have like younger adults who remember Danny Phantom, grew up with Avatar, maybe a little more recently with Korra, or a lot more recently with the Loud House. Like there are multiple generations of gamers and just like and cartoon fans who would love to play this game. And I'm glad that they saw the massive amount of attention it got and realized that they should work really hard to make this a game that people don't feel like they got overhyped about. Like, if their original expectation of this game was to dump it and that was going to be it and nobody was going to care about it ultimately except like hardcore Nickelodeon fans, but now they see that they actually have gotten the attention of the fighting game community, especially with the stuff like it's going to have rollback netcode, and that's going to mean that like some serious gamers are going to want to keep their eye on this game. Like, it's kind of wild to think that like that there will probably be multiple videos of the Yo video games. Like Maximilian was talking about this, and this is the amusing factor that most high-profile fighting games that are currently a big deal do not have rollback netcode, but this does. And I've talked about this before, but I'm glad that they seem to have acknowledged that they know there's hype for this game, which is going to put, them under pressure to make sure they deliver the goods. So I hope that means that this will make the game far more interesting, far more entertaining, and maybe whatever they originally planned for this game has now been expanded upon, and that they realize that, like I said, this has the potential to carry on the life of Smash Ultimate whenever this final Smash character gets revealed. Because once the final Smash character is revealed, it's over, it's done. I don't know how many times Sakurai has to say, this is the end, before people will finally go like, you know what, maybe it is the end. Maybe when they announce the next Smash Brothers, people will finally accept that Smash Ultimate is over. Or Sakurai just outright just retires, is like, no more Smash. But I want this game to be a big success because it came out of nowhere and the potential is there to make this a special game in a sea of where usually other Nickelodeon games just, are there mostly to, be something for kids who like these shows to just pass their time by. This could become if it's good, it could become a staple at it could become a regular thing at fighting game tournaments. Imagine this, where you're having a fighting game tournament and all the big games that are there are like the Guilty Gear, Dragon Ball Fighters, maybe Killer Instinct, Marvel versus Capcom 2, 3, or Infinite, and Smash Brothers Ultimate, whatever the latest Street Fighter is, Street Fighter 5. And then on top of that, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. That would be crazy. But at least I'm glad they've acknowledged that they're going to be putting in some work in there. And I couldn't resist the urge to I quote tweeted them and said, "Please put Ryu in." And then I responded directly to their post with every fighting game needs a guest character, and posted a gif of Ryu from the Street Fighter 2 anime film where he's charging up his Hadouken at the beginning where he's fighting Sagat. And I couldn't resist it. I've got to get that idea into their heads to get Ryu for this game. Please, if you're listening and you are a developer working on this game, a programmer, if or a producer, or whoever, even if you're just if you're just like an intern at Nickelodeon or something, or at this game, reach out to Capcom and say, "We know this sounds goofy to want to see Ryu fight SpongeBob and Lincoln Loud and Danny Phantom, but please let us put Ryu in this fighting game." I gotta see it. But anyway, let's shift over to some other negative stuff. And I mentioned Nintendo putting their games up for free from mobile. This comes from the recent case that people were talking about. Apparently, this happened a few years ago. But this regards emulation and Nintendo's continued war on emulation. A judge recently awarded Nintendo victory in a lawsuit over the website ROM Universe, where the guy who was hosting the site and hosting ROMs on his website was charging a subscription fee for unlimited downloads or more downloads for free ROMs of Nintendo games. Now, right off the bat, you should know, if you're charging money for a ROM you did not make, that's kind of scummy. I don't think that this is justification for... I don't think that Nintendo should have been granted as much as it did, but I may have understood, let me see something. Yeah, that's what it seems to be. It seems that mostly what probably got this website it seems like what mostly came down to, or the big thing that Nintendo decided to go after this guy so hard, was because he was selling ROMs of Switch games. Don't do that. Don't sell ROMs of games you didn't make in the first place. Second, you're selling ROMs of a game from the current generation? I mean, of course they're going to come after you. I don't think that Nintendo actually is going to come after anybody who's primarily hosting games that are 30 years old. If your ROM website is primarily filled with NES and SNES games, most of which you probably couldn't buy on Nintendo service anyway, as a lot of those games from those really old systems are just long out of print and they're in rights limbo that they'll never get out of or are nearly impossible to get out of. Like, yeah, I don't think I don't think that there are that many people clamoring like you're never gonna be able to buy the old SNES Addams Family games or Spike Volleyball. You're not gonna buy those. I don't like I at least like the licensed stuff like the Addams Family. You're not gonna see that stuff on Nintendo's stores again. So I don't think if your website is primarily hosting older Nintendo games, they're going to care. I don't think that they're going to care. If it's ultimately, they may still care, but I don't think they're going to come after you unless you're charging money. If you're basically selling the ROMs, then yeah, they're going to come after you. If you're not selling the ROMs, then I don't think they will. They may not like that you're doing it, but I don't think that like a court is going to side with them in that case. Now, it's easier for them to go after the guy who was selling ROMs of new games that are on a current console. Yeah, that makes sense. But like the whole thing with like Nintendo's whole thing is that they ultimately want to get emulation deemed illegal, and I don't think that a court's going to ever go that route. At least I hope not, but Nintendo's big, especially because like the fact that most of the other game, if not all the other game developers are like, yeah, emulation's fine. Like people primarily emulate games that are old, and it's primarily for games that you can't get at a reasonable price anymore or were really, really rare to begin with. And the only way to get them now or to play them now realistically is to emulate them. So most game devs don't care, and most these big game companies, I don't think Microsoft or Sony cares about emulation. But the fact that it's Nintendo that does it, and Nintendo is the most profitable company in Japan, I think that's why they ultimately will never win, because they can't prove that that all of these emulated games and ROM sites are hurting their business. When you're a country's top, when you're a country's most profitable company, you can't really show damages. You're making more money than anybody else in that whole country. All of the other businesses. You're not hurt. Now they were able to get like 2 million off of, I guess you could say that at least in the case of the new games, that's more of a reasonable argument to make. But not these old games. Not these really old games that most people like me, if I download a ROM for Super Mario Bros. 3, Nintendo shouldn't have anything to say to me because I've bought Super Mario Bros. 3 like 6 different times on like 6 different consoles. I've had when I was like 2 or 3 years old, I had the original NES with Mario 3 on it. I had the Super NES with the Mario All-Stars collection, which had the remake of Mario 3 on it. I had a Wii with, which is now, I've moved it to my Wii U, but I have Super Mario Bros. 3 on my Wii U. I have an NES Mini. And I may have even had like a handheld version. I think there was like a Game Boy Advance version of Mario 3. It's like Super Mario Advance 4 Super Mario Bros. 3 or something like that. I may have had that one. I may not. But like it's just it would be just crazy to think that like at this point, like the hardcore fans are gonna buy anything anyway. And it's just like right now, I pay for Nintendo Switch Online. I can play Super Mario Bros. 3 on my Switch whenever I want. If I emulate it on my computer, who cares? I've already paid to play this game on like 4 or 5 different. Oh, I also have. Oh, I forgot already. I have Super Mario Brothers 3 on my 3DS. So I've bought this game multiple times. Why does it matter if I download the ROM for it on the internet? Now, of course, I don't like when people download ROMs for games solely to get out of paying for them. I wouldn't do that. If I could find a game at a reasonable price, I'm going to buy the physical copy of the game. I may still emulate it for convenience's sake, as far as like I may not have like the software I need out. Like I've emulated a few Wii games, or I have a few Wii ROMs of games that I actually do have, and I have a Wii that I could play it on, but I have some of those games are in storage and I can't get to them right now. So I'll just emulate them. What's the difference? I mean, I'm sitting here looking at my copy of Super Smash Brothers Brawl. If I was to choose to emulate that, like I play No More Heroes on my Wii U. If I was to choose to emulate No More Heroes instead, so I don't have to deal with, unplugging my Wii U or whatever and swapping cords around if I needed to, and it just seemed like an easier thing to do. What difference would it make? But that comes down to the responsibility of the people who download ROMs and the emulator people of the people who do emulate to not just try to get out of paying for something. If you like something enough, be willing to pay for it. Within reason. I don't think anybody should expect you to pay, $1,000 for an old PS1 game that they don't make anymore and that's lost in a legal chasm of darkness that it will likely never return from, So again, within reason. Be reasonable. Be smart. Don't sell brand new games from another company. They're gonna come after you. If this person was likely just like, if this person was mostly just letting people download for free copies of Super Mario or the original Zelda or whatever, Nintendo probably would not have thought it was worth the fight. Granted, it is Nintendo. They may well do that anyway, but I think they would have less legal precedent, or they would have less. The law would probably lean less in their favor in that case versus you blatantly trying to profit off of their stuff. So, I still think Nintendo is in the wrong for this, and that the primary reason they wanted to, I still think that Nintendo's ultimate goal in all of this is, again, they got awarded $2 million. Okay, you're still the most profitable company in Japan. What did you gain from this other than to shut this website down? It's ultimately a step in their plan to get emulation ruled illegal as a whole. And they're pretty much fighting this battle all alone, and when they are the most profitable game company, it just makes them look really, really greedy. So, like I said, most other game folks in the industry don't really care, and I still think it's funny that Nintendo is so against emulation and mods and stuff like that, that despite that, Toby Fox, Undertale started as a mother / Earthbound mod. That was how that game originated. It was originally going to be just a modded version of that franchise that Nintendo owns, but it went in a different route, and now Undertale is represented in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, including a piece of music from the game is in there. So, it's weird that stuff works that way. I just wish it didn't. Emulation's not hurting Nintendo, and I think that two things can be true at the same time. Emulation is not hurting Nintendo, and this guy should not have been selling ROMs, especially new game ROMs. Anyway, one last thing I want to talk about is the discourse going over a particular dating simulator game, and this one has baffled me and just I want to try to understand it, but some parts of it I just can't. And I'm talking about Boyfriend Dungeon. So what has happened in this, so before we do this, this is going to be the last thing I talk about. So if you're interested in this game and you don't want to be spoiled, then I suggest that this be the point where you get out of the show. I've already been talking for almost an hour anyway. Probably tired of hearing me talk, but anyway, gonna be getting into the spoilers because you can't talk about the discourse without the spoilers. So here's your last chance to get out now. If you don't, you're gonna hear the spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. This game, one of the characters in this game is about dating weapons that can take humanoid form, or maybe in the other way around, humans that can take weapon form. But one of the characters that you can that you interact with or forced to come in contact with, one of the characters in the story is a stalker. And he sends stalking messages to you. Apparently, you get gifts from him when you don't want them. And it's upsetting folks. Now, I can understand this to an extent, that it might remind you of a bad event that happened. If you had a stalker romantic partner at one time, that yes, it would make you like uncomfortable. But the context of the game seems to be implying that you were supposed to be uncomfortable with this character doing this to you. Now, I don't think that you should be like now, I don't think that, I guess this is my problem here, though, is that, let me get back to the issue people have. People are saying that this character's stalking in the game is triggering trauma from their past relationships to them. And that the content warning at the beginning of the game was not sufficient enough or not explicit enough about what would be happening in the game. And therefore, it is harmful to people to play this game from these devs, or these games released a harmful game without properly warning people what would be in it. As if to imply that the developers of the game somehow were intentionally causing trauma to people. And I disagree with that, and it seems like most people disagree with that. But the bigger issue was the language people were using in this. In that one particular tweet went out, and I think other people may have echoed a similar sentiment, but the one I think that upset the most people was that somebody said that when referring to because the stalker portion of the game you cannot get out of. You can't block the character from sending you messages in the game because it is central to the core story of the game, which I think, from what I understand, is that harassment is bad, and that when people harass you, it makes you uncomfortable. So that's what happens in the story. The character does this to get that point across. Like, not as like, I'm trying to show you a thing. It's no, this guy ends up as like the primary antagonist, and he's a stalker, so he's going to do bad things. But one person in particular posted on Twitter that they did not consent to this. And that is the big issue that most people, including me, have with the way people engage with fictional media nowadays. In that the phrase there, "I did not consent to this," is basically you're making this sound like you're trying to liken this to actual physical or sexual assault. Like, you're invoking the concept of consent while talking about a cartoon video game dating simulator. That at any point in time that you don't want to play this game anymore, you can turn it off. You don't have to play this game. You're not forced to play this game. And that's just absolutely absurd that people view fictional media in such a way. Or just dumb entertainment, really. The game is called Boyfriend Dungeon. Like, this is, I mean, in one respect, you're like, okay, that's an absurd, that's a really absurd name. Sounds like really over the top and wacky. Oh, you can date weapons? It also sounds kind of like a hentai. Boyfriend dungeon? I mean, the fact it's got dungeon in the name, the dungeons are synonymous with torture. I mean, come on. But like invoking like that kind of context or trying to imply that like there's a similar deal here of like consenting to the game. Like first off, you bought this game with your own money and you saw the warning. Now I think that there may be some valid criticism in that, saying that the warning should have said explicitly like there were problems with the phrase like the content warning mentioned stalking, but it was referred to as in like references to stalking and abusive relationships or something like that. People had a problem with the references to part because everyone who had a big problem with the content warning said that I assumed that this meant that this was just like backstory talk that wasn't going to be in the main game. I didn't know that it was going to happen to me, the player character. Like, even so, and maybe they should have been more clear about that, why is that way more significantly different? Like, I'm having trouble grasping the idea that you're playing a game, a dating simulator game called Boyfriend Dungeon, and it warns you that to some degree, stalking is going to be in this game, whether it's discussed or shown or happened in a flashback. If it happens to the player character, what's the big deal? Like, I don't want to minimize somebody's trauma. I don't. Because when things that are super bad happen to you, and things that leave deep emotional scars happen to you, that is valid, and people shouldn't have to, like, people shouldn't be forced to play games that people shouldn't play games or be forced to play games or whatever, or to experience things that make them uncomfortable. But at the same time, you of your own free will decided to play this game. You decided to interpret a warning about what was in the game as a particular thing when it didn't say that. The game may not have told you that you were going to be stalked in the game, which I don't really understand why this would be a something that would make people like be so outraged over, because it is a game. It's fake, and if you do become uncomfortable with it, you can turn it off instead of acting like you were forced to carry on with the story. But what was I saying? Crap, I had my thought and now I lost it. But the thing is that, you know, you decided to play this game. Oh, that was what I was saying. The game may not have told you explicitly that you were the target of the stalking, but it did not tell you that it was just backstory. It did not tell you that, oh, this happened in the past. It's not going to be an active part of the story. You assumed that. And you made an assumption. And to quote the Fresh Prince, the coach from the earliest season of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, don't make an assumption because you will be an ass and the ump will shun you. So, I love that line. But yeah, like, you made the assumption about what the game was going to have or not have, and you decided to buy it anyway. Like, and it's in the discourse over this has gotten so bad that the guy the voice actor, who had played this character was getting harassed over it. The actor said they got messages from people telling them that it was unbecoming of him as a person. I'm assuming this is a. Let me do this. Well, well, I was trying to verify pronouns here because I don't like, I don't want to misgender somebody. This person does not have their pronouns in their bio, so I will opt. I'll try not to do. Like I don't want to disrespect somebody. I jumped to the assumption this was a he, so well I'm just gonna say the actor because I don't know and I'd rather avoid it than assume and be wrong. See, don't make assumptions. But anyway, the actor for the stalker character got harassment for it. Well, people were saying that this actor, it's unbecoming of them to play a character like this who is so immoral and gross. And I'm like, do you not understand the concept of acting? What acting and performing is? Do you not understand what storytelling is? Like, do you assume that if somebody puts a villain into a story and then has an actor play that villain, that the actor agrees with the villain? Or that if, like, a story creator writes a story, if a writer writes a story and has a villain in it do something heinous, that the writer actually thinks that the villain was okay to do what he did? Just because he wrote it? Come on, man. Like, what has happened to the internet where everybody just cannot think critically? Critical thinking just does not exist. Reading comprehension does not exist anymore. All that exists anymore on the internet are people, are reactionary people who, at the first sign of something that makes them uncomfortable, they can't handle it. A video game about dating weapons that, like I said, I don't know exactly whether it's the weapons can become people or the people can become weapons. It's an absurd concept on its face, but so is pretty much any video game, to be honest. A plumber rescues a princess from a turtle dragon? That's Mario Brothers. That's absurd. Little kids travel around the entire world collecting magical monsters. Some of them are actually revered as deities, just to battle and over the bonds of friendship with them. That's Pokemon in any monster collecting game. It's also Digimon. I mean, you went into this and you're trying to equate a video game character sending you a fake text message as if this was a real person? I'm sorry. I don't understand that. Like, I legitimately don't understand. Like, even if, like, I can acknowledge, like, okay, if somebody was stalked and this makes them uncomfortable, I get that. And I could get people may not want to play this game. But I don't get equating what happens in the game that you were playing, that you have decided of your own free will to play, that you were given, even if just the bare minuscule warning about the content of the game, you made the decision to interpret that in a way that did not say what it said. Even if there is valid criticism in saying that it should have been more specific. But I do not like the idea that people will equate watching something happen in a video game to it happening to them in real life. I don't get that. Because almost everybody has something that makes like I can't imagine that there are too many people on this earth that don't have anything that doesn't make their skin crawl to some degree, and that there are people who just don't like. There are some people who don't like dark content. Okay, well, don't go after the dark content, especially if you were warned, hey, this might get kind of dark. Like content warnings and stuff like that and game rating systems are all generalized because it's impossible to give you specific warning about every and any possible trigger somebody might have. Like there are people who are legitimately terrified of clowns. You're not going to see a warning of that kind on a video game. They're not going to put that out in the text. Like, should ARMS, like, nobody, I don't know how many people still play ARMS, but they actually have a cute clown character girl in there who is not more like the traditional, like these days clowns are viewed more as, like, characters you find in horror because they're creepy. When you think of clown these days, most people probably think of Pennywise or the Joker or Harlequin or something like that. But not like, say, this character from ARMS who is just a happy, silly clown who likes to smile and laugh. Like, she's not negative or scary at all. And apparently the devs or whoever it was that created that clown character for ARMS said they were surprised and kind of, like, they were very surprised to find out that there actually is a phobia of clowns and that there's a whole culture of the idea of clowns being scary monsters. They said they thought that was kind of amusing to them because just in Japan, I guess that's not a thing in Japan. Clowns aren't viewed as scary over there. At least from what I saw, but that was something to do specifically with ARMS. But like I said, like these warnings are only meant to be general because you can't list everybody's possible thing because the list would be infinite. So they generalize it. And then it's up to you as an adult to look into the games that you want to play. Like, if you're just going to buy a game without looking into it, then you kind of just, you kind of got yourself into that mess, on your own. But I don't know, man. Like, it's just something that doesn't sit right with me. With using like that kind of language, like I didn't consent to play this game or to experience this content. Either let me either change the warning to be explicit and say, instead of references to stalking, say you, the player character, will be stalked at some point in this game. Which does get sort of spoilery, by the way, and like it ruins the idea of what a stalker is anyway, because if a stalker tells you up front that they're going to harass you at some point, then relationship's done. The story's over. So to make the point about a stalker being creepy and, and crossing lines, you can't really like broadcast that openly. Now, there are plenty of websites that review games and let you read about them ahead of time. Go check those out if you're really, really worried about it. But, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to know what all is in a game. But at some point, like the super specific trigger warnings and stuff and content warnings, that's just not feasible. Because once you do it for one, you'll have to do it for all of them, and the number of them that exist are infinite. So that's why it's generalized. And people should be able to have enough, like I said before, comprehension to look at a game, to look at what the game's trying to do, and then to, with an educated guess, as best as you can, because you don't want to assume things like hardcore one way or the other, but you could guess, like, if a game has references, if a game says references to stalking, then if stalking is a major issue for you, then this might be something you need to look more into or avoid altogether. There's thousands and thousands of other games to play. You don't have to play this one. And again, If you come in, if the content really is too much for you to handle, shut it off. You don't have to go out of your way to act like the content creator, the artists, the game devs, whatever you want to call them, because it's not just, this doesn't just apply to video games, but that if you watch a show or something that has just gotten under your skin, you can turn the show off. You don't have to vilify the people who made the show or the game or wrote the song. There's some disturbing songs out there too. So we brought up Disturbed before. You ever listen to Korn's Daddy? It's a pretty rough song. But anyway, like my thing in this, if you know that there's certain content that you cannot handle, that's fine and that's acceptable. But it should be more on you, the individual, to recognize what your limit is, and then to make sure you protect yourself. It's not the world's place to make sure that you don't see something that could possibly affect you, because not everybody is affected the same way by certain things. So people being worried about, like I said, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, because like people who don't want to even experience like stalking in fiction, that's fine and dandy too. There's nothing wrong with wanting to avoid this game because the character stalks you. It is, though, wrong to liken it and equate it with real world violence and use language that suggests that to play this video game with the storyline with a fictional character sending you harassing text messages within the context of this is, again, a fictional character in a game that you have bought with yourself, with your money, that you can shut off at any time, and saying that it is basically the exact same thing as if this happened in real life and was a real case of stalking. Like, no, it's not. It's inherently not, because one is fake. One is fake, and you've chosen to engage with it of your own free will, with the money that you paid to be able to have access to this content. And the other is actual harassment. Don't say one is the other. It's fine if you don't want to play the game, and it's fine if the game's content is too much for you. But don't turn around and then place yourself up on this high moral, your moral high horse about wanting to make sure that this we have to be able to skip this game. Like people were asking for them to make it skippable. Like you want people to be able to. You're asking for the game devs to make the main antagonist of the game and effectively the main focus of the game's intended storyline to be optional? To be skippable? Like, just don't play the game. If it's that distressing to you, walk away from it. It's a game. You have that option there. In the real world, you can't walk away from abusive relationships that easily. It's way more complicated and frustrating and dangerous in the real world. But this is a game. Shut it off. And that's not me making fun of you. That's being serious. That's serious advice. Any game that puts you in distress like that, don't engage with the game. Or the TV show, or the song, or whatever it is. If you don't have to do something, then don't do it. But I've ranted enough about this. This is probably the longest show I've ever done. But I just wanted to get my thoughts out here. And like I said, I don't want people to think that if you have trauma, that I'm saying your trauma doesn't matter. But I just don't understand the idea that You could walk into a game like this with the title that it has, with it already having some form of content warnings, and then decide that when it wasn't a game that you were comfortable playing, that it somehow violated your agency as a person. The game did not violate you. It can't violate you because it's not real. The people can't hurt you. The stalker in the game is not going to come to your house and physically harm you. It may still make you upset because it brings back bad memories, and that's fine, and that's perfectly acceptable. But I don't like the idea of equating this video game stalker who can't hurt you to a case of somebody who actually could hurt somebody. One is inherently less dangerous and less of a threat to you than the other. They both may make you upset, but I just can't. I can't. And I'm glad most people seem to agree that the idea that invoking consent in this context is wrong. And that's basically the main thing. That's basically the main takeaway of all this. If the game disturbs you, that's fine. You're perfectly allowed to find the game uncomfortable. But don't evoke the idea that the game violated your consent, because it didn't. As in like a context of like a physical human relationship or a social relationship with another human being in some way. It's not. And that's all I wanted to say. But anyway, hope you enjoyed listening to me to talk about, the goofy Fortnite stuff and then rant about ROMs and dating simulators. But I'm going to go try to get some Fortnite stuff recorded since I'm behind. Maybe try out that new mode. But I got video stuff coming, so I hope you guys will like and subscribe and all that stuff. We're getting closer and closer to the next milestone sub count on my channel. Currently sitting at 145 subs. Would love to see that number increase a little bit faster, because I would like to get to monetization. I probably couldn't monetize all my videos, but a little bit of monetization couldn't hurt. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. You could donate to the channel through Ko-fi if you would like. But other than that, we'll see you next time. Later.